So good day everyone. We are here to do an assessment task, and in order for me to show what that assessment task is, let me share to you my screen. For today's assessment task, we are going to use JASP or JASP software in order to solve different statistical problems. But before that, let us know what our task is all about. Our task is to conduct parametric and non-parametric tests for a significant difference of 2 to 3 or more sample data sets. And we are going to use 6 different ways to solve 6 different problems that is related to solve a test for significant difference of 2 to 3 or more sample data sets. So the first problem is on the problem in conducting an independent t-test or independent samples t-test in determining the answer of research question number 1. The research question number 1 is there a significant difference in the mean of heights in centimeters of section 1 and section 2 students? And we have here on the right side our data for the heights of section 1 students and heights of section 2 students in centimeter. The first column is for section 1 and the second column is for section 2. You're going to put it in the JASP software, and always remember students that in order for us to put information or data in the JASP software, we must first put our data in an Excel file and save it as CSV format file. But since I already have a file for or a CSV format file, we're going to now use JASP and open the said file. Click this. Open, then go to your computer and browse. Once you do it, go to where you save your file, just like this. And these are all an Excel file, but these Excel file are saved in a CSV format style so that I could use it in JASP. Then afterwards, since we're going to use data for the independent sample t-test, click open, and here we have our data. Looking, we have here the data for section 1 and section 2 and their corresponding height. And we are tasked to first identify or label the given numbers. This is section 1 and the other one is section 2 so that we could directly identify the files or the data we need in solving. And as you can see directly, it is changed into section 1 and section 2. Now, we are going to do our t-test. First, go to t-test and click independent sample t-test. Upon clicking the independent sample t-test, put in your dependent variable. This is the height in centimeter of the students, while our grouping variable is the section 1 and section 2. Put in the grouping variable. Afterwards, check the student test. And as you can see here, we have our t-test of negative 1.991, our degrees of freedom of 22, and our p-value of 0.059. Just looking on this one, we can see that our p-value is already greater than our alpha value or significant value of 0.05. Therefore, just by looking on that part, we can say that we failed to reject the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference in the mean heights in the centimeter of section 1 and section 2 students. Therefore, since we failed to reject it, our conclusion or our interpretation will become there is no significant difference in the mean of heights in centimeter of section 1 and section 2 students. Failed to reject, therefore, we're going to accept it. But before that, in solving the independent samples, t-test also students, we should also look for the following for our normality, our equality of variances. But for this, we're not going to use the Brown foresight, but we're going to use Levine's equality of variances. And lastly, click the descriptives. All of these data, students can be used again. All of this data can be used in order for us to give an assumption, a decision, an interpretation, and a presentation of the data given. Using the Levine's test for equality of variances, we can assume that the t-test or that the variability of each group is not approximately equal, since the significance value or the p-value of the Levine's test is 0.663. Therefore, it can be applied that the variances are equal. In the normality test, the obtained p-value is 0.059, which is above or greater than 0.05 level of significance. Therefore, we fail again to reject the null hypothesis. It can be interpreted that there is no significant difference in the mean heights of in centimeter of the Section 1 and Section 2 students, as we failed to reject the null hypothesis. Or in using a 7th edition edition presentation of results, we can say that results or the tables or the given data revealed that the t-test failed to reveal a statistically significant difference in the mean heights in centimeter of Section 1, which has a mean of 116.167 and standard deviation of 13.895, and Section 2, which has a mean of 127.883 and standard deviation of 14.801, where our t is negative 1.991 with degrees of freedom 22 and a p-value of 0.059, where our alpha value is 0.05. That is an example of using the t-test. Again, in solving for t-test, check the following in the JASP software: students' normality, equality of variances, and your descriptives. That is the most important thing in order for us to properly interpret data in solving independent sample t-tests. Since we are done already in computing or using independent sample t-tests in answering the research question number 1. Now, let's proceed to another test and another example. Now, in this part, we're going to conduct or to use a Mann-Whitney U-test in determining the answer of the research question: is there a significant difference in the average mean of objects recalled by the participants in the sleep group and no sleep group? And as you can see here, the same goes in what we do in the independent sample t-test. We have our sleep group for the first column and the no sleep group for the second column. On the sleep group, it will serve as our 1 or data number 1. While for the no sleep group, this will serve as the group or data group number 2. And for us to solve that one again, we're going to use the JASP software. Again, go to Open Computer, browse. It's better for you to browse so that you will really know where to get the file. And now, we're going to use the data for our Mann-Whitney U-test. As I said earlier, we group the data in 1 and 2, where 1 is the sleep group, while 2 is the no sleep group. But here in using JASP, we can rewrite the value of our labels with the corresponding label. Again, group 1 is the sleep group, while group 2 is the no sleep group. Now, we are tasked to use Mann-Whitney U-test using JASP software to solve this problem. Yeah, there you have it. Now, in doing Mann-Whitney U-test, we're going to first click t-test and the same click independent sample t-test. But instead of checking student, check Mann-Whitney, and afterward, you're going to, the same goes, our dependent variables of while for our grouping variables is the sleep and the no sleep group. And by putting that, we can see our p-value of 0.256 and our Mann-Whitney U-test value of 92. But for us to know, and just by looking this, we can see that our p-value is greater than 0.256. Therefore, again, since it is greater than our significance value of 0.05, we can say that this or our data is we failed to reject again our null hypothesis. Therefore, if our research question earlier is there a significant difference in the average mean of objects recalled by the participants in the sleep group and no sleep group? We can conclude that since we failed to reject the null hypothesis, we can say that there is no significant difference in the average mean of objects recalled by the participants in the sleep group and the no sleep group. Again, greater than we failed to reject the null hypothesis, accepting it. Therefore, we can say that there is no significant difference in the average mean of objects recalled by the participants in the sleep group and the no sleep group. But students, be mindful that aside from having this table, you should also go to your descriptives, where variables will be objects recalled while you're going to split it in groups. Then directly go to your statistics. In the statistics, you're going to check for your mean, standard deviation, the maximum and the minimum, the skewness, the kurtosis, and the Shapiro-Wilk. Aside from that, we're also going to cut it into 4 equal groups to get our percentiles, which is the 25th, 50th, and the 75th percentiles. And by having these two datas for our descriptive statistics and the independent sample status, we can do an assumption, a decision, an interpretation, and a presentation in the use of a 7th edition APA format. We can assume that the Mann-Whitney U-test can assume or assumes that the data comes from two different or independent groups. In this case, object recalled are the data and the two groups which is known to be the sleep group and the no sleep group are presumably independent. In deciding, or we can make a decision that the Mann-Whitney U-test statistics is 92 with a significant value of 0.256. And since our significance level is typically set at alpha 0.05, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. The result of the Mann-Whitney U-test do not provide statistically significant evidence to conclude that no sleep group has a number of recalled objects that the sleep group. There may be no difference in the median score between the sleep group with a median of 11.5. As you can see in the 50th percentile, and the no sleep group with the median of 9 or the 50th percentile. Therefore, these results revealed that the Mann-Whitney U-test indicated that the average mean of objects recalled were greater for the sleep group than that of the no sleep group with a median of 11.5 and 9, respectively, and a Mann-Whitney U-test value of 92 and a p-value of 0.256. Since now we are done with the first and the second problem, let's proceed with the third problem. In the third problem, we're going to use a paired t-test to determine or paired sample t-test to determine the answer of research question. Is there a significant difference in the mean of amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction? As you can see here, we have our pair numbers 1 to 20, and we have here our new method and the standard instruction. Data for the new method is for the first column, while the standard instruction will be put on the second column. And in order for us to solve this one again, we're going to open a JASP software. The same open computer, but if you have here your files already, you can check it here. And we have our data for the paired sample t-test open, and we have here 20 data for the new method. And the same goes for the standard instruction. Always remember that in using paired sample t-test, the participants in the first column are the same with the second column, and it is just a difference in their scores. Now, let us proceed. Go to t-test and click paired sample t-test, and our variable or paired variables will be first our new method, and the second will be the standard method. Just remain with our p-value here, and using this one, we can see our t-value of 1.826, our degrees of freedom of 90, and our p-value of 0.084. Since our p-value is again greater than, our significance value of 0.05. We can directly say that with paired sample t-test, we can conclude that there is no significant difference in the mean of amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction. But then again, always remember, students, that aside from clicking the paired sample t-test, we're also going to check for it assumption checks, which is the test of normality and our descriptives. We need all of this data in order for us to make an assumption, a decision, an interpretation, and a presentation of results. First, again, our research question here is there a significant difference in the mean amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction? Having us to have a null hypothesis or HO of there is no significant difference in the mean amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction. As you can see here, we can make an assumption that the total paired sample t-test assumes that difference between the mean amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction. We can make also a decision that the mean amount of material learned in the new method of instruction with a mean of 81.75 and a standard deviation of 7.677 is greater than the mean amount of learned materials in the standard instruction with a mean of 78.65 and a standard deviation of 7.625. The probability value of 0.60, so for the null hypothesis, p-value is greater than our alpha of 0.05 level of significance. Therefore, again, we fail to reject the null hypothesis as we have our t-value of 1.826 with a degree of freedom 19 and another p-value of 0.084, greater than the alpha value of 0.05. This information can be interpreted that there is no significant difference in the mean amount of materials learned between the new method of instruction and the standard instruction, as again, we failed to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, a total paired sample t-test revealed that the mean amount of material learned in the new method of instruction is not significantly different compared to the mean amount of materials learned in the standard instruction. Since we are done already with the first three questions, now let's proceed with the use of Wilcoxon sign drop test in answering the question, is there a significant difference in the water intake before and after injection of hormone Y. Again, the same goes with the paired sample t-test. We have here our before and after of the injection data, and it's about the same respondents. Then again, using the JASP software, we're going to open or to encode our data in the Excel file and save it in CSV. And now we can open it here. Again, that is an Excel file. Save as a CSV file. Don't save it as an Excel file. It should be a CSV. We have here already our data for the before injection and after injection. Same goes, we're going to proceed with pair sample t-test, and we're going to put again our paired variable before and after injection. But then again, aside from checking the Wilcox ID student, we're going to use Wilcoxon sign drop test. And we can see here our Wilcoxon sign drop value of 3, the z-test of negative 3.361, and our p-value of less than 0.001. Aside from that, we should also check for our normality, which is on the Shapiro-Wilk. This one, our normality. And aside from that, in using datas or in interpreting datas for Wilcoxon sign drop t-test, we're also going to use our descriptives. Put both there and go to statistics. Upon going to statistics, get rid of everything and just leave the median, and the percentile rounds were cut into 4 there. Waiting for our data. There, we have now our medium of 0.650, which is again, always remember that is only the same with our 50th percentile, but for the sake of this, we're going to use all the data. We have now our measure 1 of before injection and measure 2 of the after injection with our Wilcoxon rank sum value of 3. Z-value of negative 3.361, our p-value of less than 0.01. As you can see here, also in the normality assumption checks on the test of normality using the Shapiro-Wilk, we have our value of 0.617 and a p-value of the same 0.001. Also, students, be reminded that in making use of this data, we can interpret, make a decision, we can also assume, and present the data given. Our assumption here is that the dependent variable measures at an ordinal or continuous scale. It consists of categorical data, and there is a difference between the water intake before and after the injection of the hormone Y. Decision, the Shapiro-Wilk test indicates a non-normal distribution of water intake, both before and after the injection with a p-value of less than 0.001, which is less than the significance level of 0.05. The Wilcoxon rank sum test result of 3, which has a p-value less than 0.001, suggests a statistically significant difference between the water intake before and after the injection of hormone Y. Since it is less than, we are going to reject our null hypothesis. Therefore, there is no significant difference between the water intake before and after the injection of hormone Y. It is then implied that there is a strong reason to believe that the injection of hormone Y had a significant impact on water intake. While the normality assumption for a paired sample t-test might be violated here, the highly significant Wilcoxon rank sum test provides strong evidence that the water intake after the injection of hormone Y is statistically different from the water intake before the injection of the said hormone. Therefore, a Wilcoxon signed rank sum test indicates that the water intake after the injection of hormone Y was significantly higher than the water intake before the injection of the said hormone. With our z-value of negative 3.361 and a p-value which is less than, as you can see here, it is less than 0.05. A Wilcoxon signed rank sum test indicated that the median of the water intake here after the injection of hormone Y was statistically higher than the median of the water intake before the injection of the said hormone, with median of 10.950 and 0.650 respectively. With our z again of negative 3.361 and a p-value which is less than 0.05. If we are done with the fourth problem using the four different ways, we're going to proceed with the fifth one, which is about the ANOVA test, or how to conduct an ANOVA test with a given research question. In this experiment, 18 cocaine addicts were randomly assigned to one of three groups of 6 addicts per group. All groups received counseling over the 10-week treatment period plus the treatments. The experiments wanted to determine if there are significant differences between the number of cocaine argues by the participants assigned in the three groups. Therefore, from the given question, we can sum up, or we can give a shorter research question which goes like this. Are there significant differences between the number of cocaine argues by the participants assigned in the three groups, which is acupuncture plus counseling, placebo plus counseling, and relaxation therapy plus counseling? And in order for us to do ANOVA test again, we're going to use the JASP software in solving this one. So let's go to the JASP software and open our data. That is again an Excel file saved in a CSV file. Open, and we have here our data. We have our first group, second group, and the third group. And in order for us to determine quickly, each of the groups, we're going to name each group. Our group 1, again, is the acupuncture plus counseling group. Our group 2, or the second group, is the placebo plus counseling. And the last group is the relaxation therapy plus counseling group. There.
Check your data and it was saved correctly. Now we can proceed with using t-test, or the ANOVA test rather. Click ANOVA, and afterwards your dependent variable should be your number of cocaine urges, while your fixed factors is your group. And as you can see here, our ANOVA is being generated. After our ANOVA is being generated, we can see that our group sum of squares is 80.111, while our residuals is 70.333, with the degrees of freedom 2 and 15 respectively. Our F value of 8.543 has a p-value of 0.003, which is less than, or which is said to be less than, our significance value of 0.05. Therefore, just from that data, we can already conclude that there are no significant differences between the number of cocaine urges by the participants assigned in the groups acupuncture plus counseling, placebo plus, and the relaxation therapy plus counseling group. But then again, in using ANOVA, it does not stop there. Again, it does not stop there. We should also look for our descriptive statistics there, with our n, which is 6 for each, with a mean of 4.59.333 and 8.5 for each group and its corresponding standard deviation. Aside from that, we're going to check for our assumption checks for the homogeneity, and we can get our Levin score of degrees of freedom 1, which is 2, and degrees of freedom 2 and 15 with a p-value of 0.426. Aside from that, directly go post HOC test and put your grouping variables on the other side part of the given table, and we can have this data. Lastly is to go for your descriptives. Let's go for our descriptive. Wait for a while. There are variables will be the number of cocaine urges, and it will be split accordingly to its group. And we can have our valid information, the missing ones, the mean standard deviation, and the minimum and maximum. Using all this data, students, we can make a decision, an interpretation, and a presentation of data using the 7th edition style. In making a decision, we can say that the descriptives here shows that among the 3 groups, the Placebo Plus counseling group got the highest mean number of cocaine urges, which is 9.333. While the Acupuncture Plus counseling got the lowest of mean score of 4.5 with a standard deviation of 1.871. The homogeneity of variances shows that the significance value of the Levin statistics, which is in this part based on a comparison means of 0.426. This is not a significant result, which means that the requirement of homogeneity of variance has been met and the ANOVA test can be considered to be robust. The F value here is 8.543, which reaches significance with a p-value of 0.003, which is less than the alpha value of 0.05 significance value. This means there is a significant difference between the number of cocaine urges of the 3 different groups, the Acupuncture Plus counseling group, the Placebo Plus counseling group, and the Relaxation Therapy Plus counseling group.
Aside from the Tachyana, significant difference show that it is a mean difference between Acupuncture Plus counseling group. Here the Acupuncture Plus counseling group and the Placebo Plus counseling group and the Acupuncture Plus relaxation and Relaxation Therapy Plus counseling group are both significant since that is a p-tachy value is less than the significant value of 0.05, the p-value of 0.04 and 0.016 respectively show that there is a no significant difference, or that is there is a significant difference rather for both. To interpret the given data or the data we have gathered here, analysis revealed that significant difference in the test score across the 3 different groups, with the highest mean of cocaine argue in the Placebo Plus counseling group, leading a significant higher cocaine argue compared to the Acupuncture Plus counseling group. There is no conclusive evidence that the first group differ from the other based on the current analysis. Thus, we can say that there was a statistically significant difference between the group as demonstrated by one-way ANOVA. A Tachy post HOC test showed that the Acupuncture Plus counseling group was able to obtain higher number of cocaine argued than those under the Placebo Plus counseling group, and those under the Relaxation Therapy Plus counseling group. There was no significant or statistically significant difference between the number of cocaine argue of those under the Placebo Plus counseling group and the Relaxation Plus counseling group, with a p-value of 0.786 respectively. Since we are done already with the use of the 5 different ways, let's proceed with the conduct of Kruskal-Wallis H test. In answer the research question and instructor conduct an experiment to evaluate if there is a significant difference in the 3 exam version in terms of difficulty. The result given a table at the right side version 1, version 2, and exam version 3. It making a statistically question or a research question. On this one, we can say that is there a significant difference in the 3 exam version in terms of difficulty, and we can have a null hypothesis of HOC stating that there is no significant difference in the 3 exam version in terms of difficulty. And in order to know if the specific null hypothesis is true or not, let's use the SAS software and answer that the problem going to use the data for the Crystal-Wallis H test. And we have here our score and the exam version, but again directly go and rename your or given level to your finals, that like this version. But again directly, but in order for us to know directly each version, their version 1, version 2, and 3. In solving the Crystal-Wallis H test, we're going to still use ANOVA, and go here ANOVA are different variable in the score, while our fixed factor are the exam version.
Aside from that, we're going to go to our descriptives and check for our descriptives. Here we have version 1, version 2, version 3, and we also have here our ANOVA. With our cases, the exam version and residuals with a p-value of 0.749, indicating that it is greater than the significant value. Therefore, just by looking at that, since it's greater than, we can say we're going to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, we can say that there is really significant difference in a version 3 exam. But before we go into give the decision, interpretation, and presentation of the data, let's give all the data needed for that. We now have our ANOVA. We also have now our descriptives. Let's do our assumption check. Let's click for the homogeneity test. Afterwards, directly go to the post-HOK and then put your exam version here. It's in the post-HOK contrast. No, it's not the contrast model. It's not the model. It's just the lower part, non-parametric. The non-parametric, it will give the Crystal-Wallis test here. Students, please be reminded that in order for you to check the Crystal-Wallis, go to non-parametric so you can get this one. Again, let's mirror shape so that we will now be will have again ANOVA. Put your independent variable and check for your fixed factor, then check for your descriptive. Directly go to your assumption check and check for your homogeneity so that you can get your assumption checks. We are the test of variances, and lastly go to the most lower part, then go to the non-parametric, and you can have your Crystal-Wallis by putting your data on the right side part of the given. Now, using the given data, we can now make the decision that the test statistically Crystal-Wallis, which is the roughly 0.586, indicates differences between the groups being compared. Moreover, it turns out that the differences in difficulties is not statistically significant. The value of p, which is 0.46, basically means that there is a 74.6% of finding sample result if the exam doesn't have any effect in the population at large. If a participant does nothing, it has a big chance, which is 74.6% of finding such difficulty lower in difference because of the random sampling. But always remember, if p or the p-value is less than 0.05, it is usually conclude that the difference are statistically significant. We can interpret this that the results suggest that the exam version may have a noticeable impact on the difficulty level of the Crystal-Wallis test. Statistics indicates no significant difference between the groups, and the high p-value of 0.746 tell us that there is likely significant difference between the groups, and that this difference happened by chance. In other words, there is a weak evidence that the exam version is linked to difficulty level. In the population studied, therefore, a Crystal-Wallis test showed that there was no statistical difference in the difficulty level in the 3 exam version. The Crystal-Wallis, that the versions with the Crystal-Wallis test basically of 0.586 with a p-value of 0.746, which meant difficulty of 76 for version 2. 78 to version 1, and 82 for version 3. Now we have solved each problem given assessment task. The first one is in the use of independent sample t-test. The second one is for the use of man-Whitney U-test. The third is the use of paired sample t-test. The fourth one is for the Wilson sign rank test. The fifth is for the ANOVA test, and the last is for the use of Crystal-Wallis H test. Each test signifies the conduct of parametric and non-parametric tests. For significance difference of two, there is or three or more sample data sets. That's it for today's students. So thank you very much for listening. If you have more questions, feel free to ask, and I'll answer in best time possible. Bye. Good, everyone.